C.S. Lewis, he wrote that the Lord does not think that our desires are too strong. He thinks that they're too weak. We're children playing in mud pies in the city when a beach vacation is awaiting us at the shore. And he said to me, he goes, Andy, that's really cool. And I'm excited for you. You seem like you're really enjoying this. But my limo driver has better stories. And I said,
whoa.
I said, yeah. And he goes, stop limo driving your way through life. If you want to get in the backseat, you can't be the guy who sells the front seat.
Everyone, welcome to Fulfillment Project. Andy Ellwood with us today. Whenever a guest reaches out and has the first name Andy, there's a high probability that I want to talk to him because I love the name. Andy Ellwood, so interesting with what he's doing with the grocery industry right now. We're going to get into that. He has sold an airplane to Warren Buffett. I can't wait to hear that story. But where I want to start, Andy, and we are just going right into the jugular here.
Let's do it.
Right for the guts. 12 years old, you started a lawn company. Was that your first business? Bring me up to speed with why you started that lawn company when you were 12 years old, because I think that kind of will connect the thread throughout your whole life.
Yeah, it was my second company because I ran my lemonade stand as if it was a company when I was like 7 or 8. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And so younger siblings make really good employees. And, we lived on a busy enough street that I wanted to do the lemonade stand all the time. And, even figuring out that 65 cents is the best price to charge for lemonade because nobody has 65 cents. So they give you $1 and they feel good because they give you a tip, but they actually were just paying the 65 cents. So, it's early on price optimization, it was part of my life, but the reliable lawn care was the lawn mowing business.
Wait, hold on. I love that. So instead of just charging $1, which is what everyone does, or nowadays with inflation, it's like $5 for a Dixie cup of lemonade. You chose 65 cents because you knew they were going to give you the $1 anyway. So you allowed the consumer to walk away feeling happy, paying the price they were always going to pay, but you just backed it down a little bit so they felt a little charity in their heart. They're
like, we gave you the tip. They're like, no, keep the change. I was always going to keep the change. It was nobody's asking for that 35 cents back.
Did you have it just in case?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, had to have it just in case. My parents, they liked the thinking. We obviously had to make sure that we could fulfill the change if we needed to. But as I'm fishing for a quarter and a dime, they're like, oh no, just keep it. I was like, oh, thank you.
My gosh. Okay, so looking at the audience here, for the audience, how can we in our lives deliver what we were going to deliver anyways, but make our colleagues, make our friends and family feel better about what we're doing? I'm going to unpack this a little more in the study guide this coming Wednesday, because there's a lot of meat on this bone that I think Andy intuits naturally. But for me, it's taking a little more effort to figure out how I can practically do this in my life. So stay tuned for that. And if you have any ideas, drop it in the comments below. All right, Andy, the lemonade stand evolved into the lawn care business. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, so growing up in Texas, the grass starts growing at the end of February. Whoa. It doesn't stop until November. And I had the very unique privilege of being homeschooled. And so I convinced my mom that running my lawn mowing business was an entrepreneurship class and that I didn't need to wait for the weekends or for school to be out in order for me to go out and start to build the business. So I would start going around March and April, and I literally drew a map of the neighborhood, and I like had all the addresses, and I looked to see, had I talked to the person at that house yet? Young little 12-year-old Andy walking up to the house and be like, hi, my name's Andy with Reliable Lawn Care, and I'm going to be mowing your lawn this summer. Do you want me to come on Thursdays or Fridays? I would later learn that that's called
the assumed sale. You didn't even give them an option to say no.
Yeah. And so I said, if there's $20 under your mat when I get there on Thursday, I'll mow your lawn. That led me to having a lot of fun building that company. And I kind of became the kid at 12 years old that always had a little bit extra cash in his pocket.
Nothing like a little cashola. Tell me about a time during those early days where you got caught in a tough spot, because you're a kid at that point. Obviously, you've got a lot of wit about you, But did anyone ever catch you with your pants down or put you in an uncomfortable position you had to navigate before you really had a lot of life experience?
Yeah. Mrs. Reifer, who was a house a few doors down across the alleyway. Every time I would cut her lawn, she would dock me for something that she saw that she didn't think was done well enough, and she wouldn't pay me the full amount. And
no way.
And it became kind of this joke to the point, and it was like a hard lawn. It had a hill, and and it was the first time that I ever fired a client. Where I was like, it's just not worth it. Like, I don't need your $20. And it kind of, when I think back on that, and I love that you asked that question, because, I haven't thought about Mrs. Reifer in a very long time.
Yeah.
In my life since then, there's been a lot of opportunities where it's like, I'm not enjoying serving this customer. And so much of what I want to do and anything that I'm building is enjoy the people that I'm getting to work with, to serve, to build for. And I think that was the first time that I just walked away from cash, because it just wasn't worth my time. Like, my time has value. And I didn't know at the time, but that was probably a pretty formative moment to be able to say, I know that I'm now going to have a gap in my schedule. I'm going to be missing that $20, out of the $100 this week that I'm going to get. I'm now only going to get 80. But I'm pretty sure I probably backfilled her with somebody that I liked a lot.
Oh my gosh. And even if you didn't, was $20 worth the peace of mind. And this is just a good takeaway for the audience. A lot of times we grasp and we claw for things that we think we want because momentum's naturally carrying us in that direction. Like, Andy's got this lawn biz. You want as many lawns as you can to cut. $20 multiplied by the most lawns gets you the most money. But peace of mind, quality of life, and that frees you up to expand things in ways you could have never foresaw if you were so hampered down by the stress of maintaining something you didn't want. I really love that, Andy. That's wisdom of a child. Did you intuit these things? Andy, did you have someone coaching you through this? A lot of these things already, the lemonade stand and the lawn company, I'm like, okay, Andy Ellwood's a little bit of a visionary.
Well, so the funny part is my dad worked the same job for 40 years. He was an architect. And frequently I would be like, Dad, what should I do? And he's like, I don't know. But what I loved so much about my dad was that he was willing to say, I don't know. And then the next thing he said was the most important thing, which was, but I bet I have a friend who does. And he offered his network to me at a very early age and said, this person runs their own business. Why don't we ask them? And that happened when I bought a truck. I started saving up to buy a truck when I was 14. So on my 16th birthday, I paid cash for a truck so that my lawn mowing business could expand. The carburetor needed to be rebuilt. My dad doesn't know how to rebuild a carburetor. I asked my dad, he said, my favorite part about my job is that it makes me enough money to pay someone to do things for my car. But my friend Jim loves working on cars. Let's see if he'd be willing to come over. And Jim Cowles came over for 9 hours, and he and I rebuilt a carburetor together. And it's both a testament to my dad that he was willing to say, I don't know. And that one of his friends was willing to go up there Saturday to come help me at the tender age of 16 rebuild a carburetor.
Oh my gosh, Jim Cowles. May we be Jim Cowles to somebody else, and may our sphere of influence call upon us like your dad called upon Jim Cowles, because they know we have some expertise that we can offer to help build up the next generation. I mean, did you love that, Andy? When you were doing that carburetor, was that just a means to an end to you, or did you extract some value out of that time with Jim and learning how to get under the car and or the truck and do all that stuff?
Yeah, no, I learned that it wasn't the thing that I was going to be like. I was not going to be a car guy, but I also learned that I wanted to always make sure that I knew how I learned, that I learned how I learned. And when I was trying something new, I'd be like, okay, well, how can I catch on to this faster? Yeah. And I think that that's probably one of the best gifts that I got. I've been naturally curious my whole life, and put myself in, in rooms where, I had no idea what was going on, but I was like, what can I learn from this? And still today, my Uber driver, my barista, the woman working at the front desk at my office, they know things I don't know. Yeah. And I'm just super curious. What do they know that I don't know? And is it something that, like, even if they just shared a little bit of the thing that they're better at than me, I get a little bit better when I do that. And that's something that I think has carried forward from trying to find the best of everybody who was in my dad's network and then continuing that with everybody who's in my own network.
So it's so funny you say that, Andy, because a person that will remain nameless because they demand that if they're going to help me, I can never give them the credit, which is one of the most humble things I've ever understood. But they are the most wealthy person I personally know. And they do so much good around the whole world, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars of good around the whole world. And he makes time to talk to someone like me and mentor someone like me. And everyone, hey, if you haven't already gone over to my Substack and signed up for a free or premium membership, why don't you go do that right now? There's so much stuff. Every Monday morning, you get the newest, latest episode, either a long form or a monologue on a big topic by me. Every Wednesday, you get the self-reflection guide, all my notes, all my memos, and so much more. And by signing up, you will get my free book emailed to you in PDF form right now. Thank you so much. I love reading books. I really honor people that read books. And I even have a rule of life where I kind of distrust someone if they tell me they don't read. Because to me, it means you're a little closed-minded, you're a little turned off, you don't love the same thing I love. And which may be a little ignorant on my part, I recognize fully. But this person that I look up to so much and has helped me so much said the exact same thing you said. When I asked him about what his favorite book was, or like top 5 books. I can't remember how I framed it early on in our relationship, but he said, I don't read books like that. He reads periodicals and things timely to his business to stay up to date. But he says, I learn my best lessons from the people at the grocery store, from my barista, from the drivers that take me to and from the pilots that are flying my planes. And it's like, so that opened my eyes up to, we can learn from anybody and everybody, no matter our situation in life. I was just talking to the vice chairman of my company a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and she was talking about the collaboration with people underneath her, where early in the career for her, she thought kind of top-down pressure, people below respond to people up top. And that's when she was someone kind of on the lower end of the totem pole. And as she's grown, she's realized it's actually a two-way street. And her example was like, she's writing an article for Forbes and she can come to me and say, hey, put your eyes on this. You're in the trenches day to day in our industry. Give me some feedback here. Where am I a little too disconnected? What resonates? And that really is the amazing thing about talking to people of all parts of life, is that everyone has a different paradigm. We're all looking at the elephant, but we're looking at it from different angles. So we 100%. See different things. It's just a constant reminder to me. I still love books, and I think it's such a great way. Like, people you could never have access to, either because they're dead or they're outside of your sphere. You can get their ideas. It took them a lifetime to learn the lessons that they put in this book. And now in a matter of 4 to 6 hours, I can glean all that wisdom from them and then impart it into my life. But you, from very early on, had the gift of being surrounded by good people because your parents put you in that situation. And to your credit, Andy, you took advantage of it.
I did.
If I had been in that same situation, just my temperament, I don't know what, I may have said, I know better than that. I don't want to get involved with a stranger. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little shy, this and that. But you actually embraced it and allowed it to accelerate your life. Is that fair to say?
It is. It is. And I think that it led to me being early in my career, being in sales, that, the curiosity of, all right, I have something that I'm incentivized to work into this conversation, to work into, my networking, to work into, growing the referral base that I was using to build the business. But what's the cold hard fact? People do what they're incentivized to do. Right. And people don't like to be sold to, but they do love to buy. And I think that finding the moments where you just you're there when they're making that buying decision, because you were just a human who was doing their job. Like, hey, I'm gonna tell you about a thing that I have.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that a lot of people like you have purchased. And I don't know if you need it today because we just met. Why don't we get to know each other a little bit? And if there's something about the way that I'm talking about the work that I do that is of value to you, when you're ready to make that decision, I'll be here, is such a different way of saying, like, here's the thing. Do you want it?
Yeah. It's so different. And it makes, what I love about that is your chances of closing the sale actually probably increase. Probably increase. I hear my wife listening to this and correcting the way I speak as we go. And it creates long-term relationships with people because you actually have their best interest in mind. You provide them with the value set. If the value set resonates, bada bing, you team up and you partner up. You create recurring customers for life. If it ends up not working, it's like, hey, I had your best interest in mind. It was not nefarious. I didn't trick you into anything. And it creates strong referral selling, which I love too, because now they say, hey, I learned about this for people like me. Most of their friends are people like them. And then they just sell all around you. I hate pressure sales. I've been in sales my whole life, and it's always felt off-putting to me. And relationship selling feels a lot better, but you can't always get to the end line. So there's a mix of things where you have to help people get to the right decision, but you have to do it in a narrative way where they understand the story of why they're doing what they're doing.
100%. I think that it's having the confidence to live in a state of abundance. That the rule that I had, my first job out of college was selling life insurance, right? And if you can sell life insurance, you can literally sell anything else. like life insurance, the pitch begins with, have you thought about your death recently? Everything else is more fun. But the rule that the firm I worked for said was 10 leads to get one sale. And so the only thing that I control in that equation is getting 10 leads. I don't control the 3 people that are going to let me pitch, and I don't control the 1 person who's going to say yes. And so my job was just to meet 10 new people. That was it. If I met 10 new people, I was going to get a sale. But the really interesting thing, when we went back and reran the numbers, was the 9 people who said no the first time, 40% of them got back into the funnel over the course of the next couple of years because the time became appropriate for them down the line.
Whoa. And they weren't ready when you initially approached them, but you planted the seed, that seed grew. And then later down the line, 40% said, hey, time to think about this. I got to call Andy.
Yep. And I think that one of my favorite Andy-isms, if you will, that I made up is, people say it's not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe that, because it doesn't matter who you know. It only matters who knows you. Because when the time came for them to make that purchasing decision.
Yes.
When the time came for them to make that purchasing decision, they're like, who do I know that sells that? That kid Andy did. Right. And, I went on from selling life insurance to then selling private jets. And I knew the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But if when he needed to get on a private plane, he didn't know Andy Ellwood was the first phone number that he should call, who cares?
Whoa. I mean, that Andyism is so direct. I don't even have to explain it to the audience. I love that. It's like the platinum rule. It's not do unto others as you would have them do to you. Do unto others as they want you to do to them. It's like a twist on something that seems so common. Andy, I love that. And you gave me the perfect bridge. I mean, you are such a thinker. I get so stimmed. Next time I'm in New York City, I'm looking you up. We got to have a coffee or a bourbon or lunch or something. We're going down the rabbit hole, and I feel like everything you say, we can go tangent. But you just brought up life insurance, private jets. Private jets is where I want to go next, because ultimately you sold one to Warren Buffett. How did you get into selling private jets? Give me the arc. Give me the steps it took you to go from 12-year-old with a lawn company, buying your first truck for the lawn company at 16. That grew. And then did you go directly into insurance and then directly into selling planes? Tell me how you get there. I know some used car salesmen. Charlie Cronin, a good friend, sells cars. Cronin GMC, Volvo in Perrysburg, Ohio, if you're looking for one. That's an unpaid ad right there, but you can pay me later. So I know car salesmen. I don't know any plane salesmen is my point.
Yeah. So my dad made me sell reliable lawn care to my younger brother. So I had my first acquisition at 18.
Wait, stop it. Okay, I know I told you I wanted to get to the plane thing, but what do you mean your dad made you sell it? Why? How much? Tell me everything.
My dad said, look, humble brag. I was making $30,000 a summer in high school in 1998.
You're also in the most prosperous lawn business in the world. I mean, you cut from, you said February to November.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was running crews. Like I had my younger brother and his friends working for me. I would drop them off. I'd drive the truck. I'd go do, so had this huge client base that I'd spent, 6 years building up from 12 to 18, had all the equipment. And my dad said, look, there's a value to that. You can't just give it to your brother. And so, my brother paid me, over the course of, I think, the next year while I was in college. I had a little bit of an earnout, if you will. And so that,
Hey, Christmas is coming, and what better stocking stuffer than the Thrive Mastery Guide from Fulfillment Project Season 1. Reflections on each of the episodes, journaling prompts. So it's great for people who love to journal, people who want to journal, people that are leading, or people that aspire to lead. This is the perfect gift for them. Come on, let's get it. You can get it at Amazon.com right now. Search Fulfillment Project or go to my Substack, subscribe, and you will get the free download to the ebook. Love you guys.
And then he sold it to our youngest brother. So the Ellwood brothers ran Reliable Lawn Care for 19 years in Plano, Texas.
No way.
And so I almost didn't go to college because I was making what most people made their first year out of college, working part-time as a high school kid. And I was like, I'm just going to go all in on this. Like, this is great. But I was really grateful to have a couple of mentors. One being my mom's cousin, who was also my dentist, Bill Gerlach. And he told me, he goes, Andy, look, here's the deal. You have the opportunity to attend college, and that's not an opportunity that everybody has. And I think you'll learn a lot in that challenge, because it'll be different for you. Because being homeschooled, right? I was class one of one, right? So I was valedictorian. I was most likely to succeed. I was captain of every sports team, and I was also the class clown, right? I get to college, and all of a sudden there's 399 other kids in my freshman business class. But in college, what my dad told me, he goes, look, college is to get you your first job and to learn how to be around people who are different than you. And so at Texas A&M, we call that the other education. Yeah, I got straight A's. I got straight A's in the other education. Yep. And so that's what then spawned me to get into life insurance. And then another Andyism, if you will allow me, is that when you're good at something.
Wait, Andy, do you listen to the show? Do you know that I do isms for my guests?
I heard.
Okay. I was like, dude, that is too good. You are too good, man. Nice prep.
Another ism, if you'll allow me, is that when you're good at something, you tell other people. When you're great at something, people tell others for you. And when I was selling life insurance, I became rookie of the year my first year out of college. I sold more life insurance than any other 23-year-old in America.
Whoa.
Word got around that Andy's pretty good at selling people things. A friend of mine ran the private jet business for Warren Buffett in Arizona. Shout out Justin Firestone. And
Justin. So that's not NetJets, because Warren currently owns NetJets.
So NetJets, and then there was Marquis Jet. And Marquis Jet was the jet card business. And so the salesperson in Dallas was being replaced. And I threw my hat in the ring and said, pick me. Yeah. And I became the youngest sales guy on the team because they said, we need people with 15 years of sales experience. And I said, great. I started my first company when I was 12. I'm 27 now. The math works. And they actually bought it. They actually bought it and let me in as the youngest sales guy on the jet team, the Marquis Jet team that year. So Kenny Dichter, who's gone on to build and sell 2 more private jet companies, and then Jesse Itzler, who a lot of people know, who has become an amazing influencer and speaker, married to Sarah Blakely. They were my bosses, which was crazy to have those guys as bosses. Gosh. And our clients were the celebrities, athletes, and billionaires of North Texas. And so my favorite sales tool that I've ever had was I had a letter in my briefcase from Warren Buffett, and I could use it once a year, and I could slide it across the table and say, Warren Buffett would like to invite you to Omaha, but you need to say yes to this deal before I leave. And that was a pretty great way to close a deal.
No way. That's like his gold McDonald's card he has, and there's only supposedly a few of them in the world. I think Bill Gates has one too, where it's free McDonald's anywhere in the world. You show him, sure he doesn't take advantage of it, but like
he's pretty frugal.
flex.
Yeah, he's pretty frugal. So Warren Buffett became a client of NetJets in 1995. He bought NetJets in 1996. And then Marquis Jet was spun up in 2001. And then eventually got absorbed into NetJets in the mid 2010s.
When did you transition out of there to your next venture?
So I was having a lot of fun.
Hold on. I'm going too quick. Just of all the people you met in the private plane business, who was the most fascinating and why? And who did you learn the most from and what was it?
The founder of the Container Store was one of my clients.
Oh, stop, dude. I mean, if you're looking for a Saturday, kids have the babysitter, me and the wife go to Container Store. We're there 8 hours. I'm jealous you know the person. I mean, I'd drop to a knee and kiss their ring right now.
Yeah. And getting the chance to meet him, I grew up, lower middle income family, and the oldest of four, homeschooled. My parents made it cool to get hand-me-downs from my friends.
Yeah.
Who are a little bit older than me, and and as the oldest of four, part of the reason I went all in on the lawnmowing business was because that that was way better than the allowance that I was able to get in the family that I was a part of, and so I'd never seen how the other side lived. So
right on,
getting to know these families, it was awesome that I knew, the Dallas Cowboys and the Texas Rangers and the Mavericks and the Stars and all the PGA tours and the Jonas Brothers were, they live in Dallas, and, all these people were like part of my day-to-day work. But the people who I learned the most from were celebrities in their industries that most people had never heard of. They were the person who was absolutely the best at roofing for oil and gas rigs. They were the person who was top of their game in trial attorneys when it came to a certain type of injury. Like crazy people that like you could say their name to just about anybody and no one would know who they were. But if you said their name to somebody in their industry,
business, yeah,
they were the Tiger Woods of that industry. And those are people that I probably learned the most from. And
so they're invisible to the world, but they're behemoths within what they do, which is kind of, wow, what a gift to be that person.
Yeah. And so I learned a lot from them. And then the founder of Container Store was somebody like that, because he told me when he was founding the Container Store, right, he had to get his wife to be like, yeah, okay, we're going to go all in on this. And she said, look, this is what the sacrifice means. Like, this is what I'm going to do to support the family. We're going to do it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you got to go get a job. But she believed enough in him and in the idea that he had. And then, that turned it into what it's become and the thing that we all get excited to do on Saturdays.
Oh my gosh, dude. So I'm trying to distill your takeaway from that. Is it that to take the next step in business ownership requires sacrifice from all involved? Like when you're hearing him say that story, his personal story to you, what are your takeaways?
Yeah. Well, so another client of mine who was on the manufacturing side of the world, I was telling him about all these, amazing people that I met, the athletes, the billionaires, the owners of the Container Store. And he said to me, he goes, Andy, that's really cool. And I'm excited for you. You seem like you're really enjoying this. But my limo driver has better stories. And I said,
whoa.
I said, yeah. And he goes, stop limo driving your way through life. If you want to get in the back seat, you can't be the guy who sells the front seat. And what he told me, tying back to, the story from the Container Store founder, was he said, you have to take some personal risk. You have the ambition, but you haven't taken any real risks yet. You got to go take some risks if you actually want to have the opportunity to level up. And it's cool if you want to be the sales guy, no problem. But it seems like at the tender age of 27 or 28 or however old I was, they're like, go take some personal risks. And so that was, I quit that amazing job to move to New York City and joined my first startup.
I'm just letting that little nugget sink in for a minute. So many people need to hear that. I'm going to look at the audience and just repeat what you said in my own way as the beautiful New York FDNY cruises past you. The economy needs people of all sorts. Not everyone can be an owner. And that's good. That's good. What we're searching for in this podcast
And the Substack is fulfillment in our own lives. And not everyone wants to be elite. And I don't even know if I want to be elite, but agency is a component to life. And when you want to level up and become the best version of yourself in the industry you're in, like Andy is saying, the guys and the women that nobody knows unless you're in their industry. But if you're in the industry, everyone knows. If you want to be that person, you have to take some personal risk. You have to step out. You can't respond to orders all the time. And that's scary because you can fail, and a lot of people fail. And those that stop after one failure end up doing what they're doing for the rest of their lives. And that can also be okay if you can find fulfillment there. But it's those that are willing to expose themselves to failure after failure after failure. And you're failing upwards in the positive sentiment of the word, where one failure teaches you lessons you could have never experienced without that failure. And you move on to the next thing and the next thing. Wow. I can't wait to re-listen to this, Andy. That is just so beautiful. So beautiful. So you wanted to get out of the front seat of the limo. You wanted to get in the back seat of the limo. You joined your first startup.
The phrase that he said that I'm just now remembering was, don't settle for knowing the man if you believe you have what it takes to be the man.
Don't settle for knowing the man if you have what it takes to be the man. That got you into your first startup. So you transfer from the plane business to a startup. What were you guys doing? What were you trying to do? Did it work, or was it a big flaming burnout?
So the first company that I joined was right when the App Store launched on the iPhone.
Yeah.
And I quit my job in Dallas, didn't have a job in New York, just sent out my going away party invites. A friend of mine from junior high was like, I didn't know you were a free agent. Like, we need somebody to lead partnerships for this new startup that we just kicked off. I said, what type of partnerships do you need me to lead? Kind of figured it out and ended up being pretty okay at closed deals with CNN and the NBA and Disney. Had a lot of fun. And we were building a digital passport, so you could check in every time you got to a new place and get a stamp in your digital passport. And we were one of the first apps that really used location services. And so we built it, and we were about to go out to raise our Series B. And Sean Parker of Facebook fame, Napster fame, he was on our board. And he said, hey, what you guys are saying you want to build in your next round, that sounds a lot like what Mark's going to announce at the next board meeting for Facebook. You guys should talk. And so Facebook bought us pre-IPO in November of 2011. And that was a pretty amazing first startup run.
So that led you where?
So
did you join the Facebook team, or did you spin out?
It ended up not joining the Facebook team because I got a better offer to go work at this small little Israeli company called Waze.
My gosh, shut up. Dude, what the heck? Go on.
And I met the Waze team because founders of Gowalla were both young dads, and I was kind of the third public facing part of the team. And so they'd just be like, Andy, we just got invited to speak at this conference. Can you go? And so I ended up, speaking everywhere. I spoke at the Sydney Opera House. I spoke in Europe and spoke in Asia. And so as a result, I met a lot of other startup entrepreneurs, and they kind of saw some of the success that we had with what we built with Gowalla. And so the Waze team said, hey, come lead partnerships for us. So I opened the New York office for Waze and led the global partnerships team until we were acquired by Google. And I was like, wait a second. My first startup that I joined gets acquired by Facebook. My second startup that I joined gets acquired by Google. This is easy. Everyone should build startups.
Everyone wins. Yeah. Yeah. What was the Gowalla company you were just talking about where you're doing all those speaking arrangements? I missed that piece.
Yeah, that was the location-based social network. So
Got it.
Some of the technology initially when Facebook activated the timeline, when you would tag you and me, Union Square, and you could put that location tag, that was some of the technology that we built.
Incredible. So incredible. So you're batting 1,000 right now. You think you can't fail at this. Money is getting printed as fast as you can print it. And then what?
Started another company, this time as a founder. Fun little
So this is
idea.
your first founder experience.
Yeah, first founder experience. Ended up not sticking with the company, but it eventually got acquired also. It was called Bond, and we built thankfulness at scale. So we built robots that could write thank you notes. And so if I added you to my CRM, like a Salesforce, and I was like, Andy, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I hit enter. The robot would grab my pen, my stationery, and in my handwriting, write the note to you and mail it the same day. That got acquired by a private equity firm. And, it was a small little fun thing, but it was good. But I realized in that process that it was like, if I'm going to spend my efforts trying to build something, I want to build something that matters, right? Something that has like a large impact. Because I was like, if I'm going 2 for 2 and then go 3 for 3, like if I'm going to jump back in to build, like I want to build something that really matters. And so that's what led me to eventually become one of the founders of basket.com. And that was the next thing, but it did not end quite as well as we had hoped.
What happened?
So we launched with the idea of building a smart grocery shopping list.
Yeah.
So if you tell me what's on your grocery list this week, I'll tell you every store in your area that carries all of the products, and then what the total price at each local store is for your entire basket of goods. We were kind of inspired by Zillow, did it for homes, Auto Trader did it for cars, Kayak, Expedia, Priceline did it for travel. But for the thing that we buy most frequently, and is the 4th largest use of household GDP, groceries, we just walk into a store and hope that they carry what we're looking for. We hope
pay
that
the
it's
price that they put
a
on
fair
it
price.
Yeah.
And so we took the receipt from a grocery trip and we went to all the local stores and we rebuilt the entire basket of goods. And we found that there was a 20 or 30% difference in price just by turning left or turning right out of our neighborhood. And we're like, what? Nobody knows that. Like, that's crazy. And so we said, like, let's build it. We talked to a bunch of shoppers. A bunch of shoppers were like, oh yeah, we would totally use that if you built it. And then we said, well, the only thing we need is prices.
Yeah. How do you get grocery stores to share that info with you? Because they're not exactly publicizing it.
So we went to the stores and we're like, hey, a bunch of shoppers want this. And here's what it would look like. We're going to put your prices right next to their prices and we're going to let the shopper choose. And that was the first time I ever got kicked out of a corporate headquarters.
I've been kicked out of better places than this.
Walmart called security on us and said, that is not what we thought this meeting was about. Get out. We hope you fail. And so I changed the pitch deck for our next round of funding to Walmart hates this. And so we ended up raising $20 million. And using my background at Waze, we crowdsourced every price on every product in every grocery store in the country.
Whoa.
So we had 6,000 secret shoppers in a Slack channel that we would send them on missions every week to update prices in 118,000 grocery stores, over 2 million products in the database. And it was crazy. Like in hindsight, it's absolutely crazy what we did, but we ended up serving 650,000 families and we were saving people on average 30 to 40 bucks per week. And so a couple $1,000s a year for this free app. And we ended up, being able to make money from business intelligence and advertising. And we were starting to work with some of the online players. But then maybe one of the hardest things that ever happened to me professionally was we were ahead of steam. We're going into 2019, like things are blazing. Our investors say, like, keep spending, keep hiring, like, we got you, like, go for it, go for it, go for it. So we made some big hires at the end of 2018, had $4 million in revenue coming in, and they were going to send us $5 million in January as kind of a bridge to the next round. We got confirmation on the first Friday of January of 2019 that was going to happen. And then on the first Monday of January 2019, our lead investor, Jeff, gregarious fellow, old school Silicon Valley, he throws himself his 68th birthday party. And, he's a solo investor in his last fund. He's going to retire after this fund. And he's like, all the money in the fund, that's for you guys. Like, let's take this thing to the moon. Throws himself a birthday party in San Francisco. And then he owned a vineyard in Northern California, which is where his family was waiting for him to have like the big family birthday party. So he hops in his plane with his best friend and they fly up to the vineyard. Unfortunately, they crashed the plane and died.
No way.
And his friend was
Do you say 60? He was 60 years old.
68, yeah.
68.
And his friend who was in the plane with him was one of our other larger investors. And what happens when you're a solo GP at a fund is the money reverts to your LPs, right? Reverts to the people.
Yeah, the limited partners.
On his desk, like yellow notepad, it says basket 5 million, circle, circle. And so we had gone into the year hiring and making plans around using that money. And because our existing investors had told us we got you guys. We're going to do the next round. We hadn't been talking to other investors. And so we were caught pretty flat footed. Ended up being an incredibly challenging year. I put in way too much of my own money. My co-founder put in too much of his own money to try and keep the business going. And by the end of the year, we'd gone from 43 employees to 7 employees. Kind of, we right-sized. We did what we had to do to like keep it going, because there's 650,000 families that we're helping,
utilizing this on a regular basis, saving real money.
And if you looked, like, I was on the Today Show, we were on the Steve Harvey Show, like everywhere you looked like Basket was doing great. But like, meanwhile, behind the scenes, like it's absolute hell. At the end of 2019, like, we did what we had to do. We right-sized the company. We got it all set up, and we're like, you know what? 2020 is going to be our year.
Yeah. Huh.
And then this pandemic thing happened, and we didn't survive. And it was incredibly challenging, to go from, like the 8 years, the company's doing it. We're gonna have the next thing, to, especially the families that we were serving, and just the stories that we heard of that extra $100, extra $200 a month was really making a difference. Just by, having some transparency for groceries. And so incredibly challenging.
Oh my gosh. I just want to let that sink in for a minute. You had invested everything in it, and then a tragedy with the plane crash. You try to recover, you right size, you insert your personal capital into it. So now your family is exposed in a brand new way. And then a pandemic hits, which is a tragedy, also unforeseen. I mean, never in a million years. And that puts you under 8 years of your life. 8 years of your life. And this goes back. Instead of knowing the man, be the man. If you think you have the ability to, and you took a risk and it failed, and that's what we were talking about. Taking agency means failure will come. It will come. But you just want to know the people that are doing the things, or do you want to be the person that is doing the things? And this, it wasn't pretty in the moment. How long did it take you to recover from that, Andy? Have you recovered yet from that?
I believe that if you haven't failed at something recently, you're not trying hard.
Yep. I love that.
If you, I don't know if you play video games. I don't play very many, but I do know that if I'm playing video games with my younger brothers who play more than I do, and I find myself wandering around in the video game and there's no bad guys, it means that I'm in a useless part of the territory.
You're in the wrong part of the game.
Right?
That's a great way to visualize it.
If you're not getting pushback, if somebody's not trying to keep you from moving forward, you're probably playing pretty easy. And so while I don't go looking for a fight, while I don't go looking for opportunities to fail, if failure's not on the table, I'm probably not risking enough. And so it was part of what I knew I was doing by going out there and trying to transform a $1.8 trillion entrenched, inefficient system, which is the grocery industry of America.
Yeah.
So after we kind of sell the company for parts, basket.com ended up being the most valuable thing that somebody bought. And I became an executive coach as a way to kind of stay close to the crazies.
Yep.
Stay close to the people that were trying to do the things, but to recover, to like take a breath. I ended up getting married. We had our first kid, and I was pretty
in the aftermath of all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Marriage and a child. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, recovered, found out that I was pretty good at coaching folks, pretty good at saying, hey, not just like theoretically, I read this in the Harvard Business Review, but hey, when I was building one of my last companies, this is what I learned. And so kind of got to, I have big brother energy, and got to be big brother to some like early stage, founders. I had one founder who, she's like, I need you to teach me how to speak VC, and she was new to the startup game. And so, helped her raise some money for her startup. I've worked with publicly traded CEOs, I've worked with, companies like Google and Goldman Sachs and others. And it's been awesome as a coach, but I always kind of knew eventually I was going to jump back in, and I wanted to build something else. And so, but I knew that the siren song of wanting to build something else would like be pretty loud for me. Like I was going to always want to jump back into the founder seat. So I worked with my coach, and we came with 4 non-negotiables that would have to be true all at the same time in order for me to ever become a founder. And for 4 years, those things kept me from taking risks, kept me from jumping back in too soon.
Yeah.
Because 2 of them were true, or 3 of them were true, but when it finally happened that all 4 were true, it was undeniable that it was time to jump back in and found something again.
I mean, if you make me beg for the 4 things, I will. Please.
So the most important one for me, the one that was probably saved me the most from jumping in to anything too soon, was it has to be a problem I would want to be working on for at least 10 years. It has to be a 10-year problem. It has to be something that I can't see a full solution emerging in less than 10 years.
Whoa. Yeah.
Because if I'm going to wreck this pretty great life that I have of just being a coach, which like it's great. My friends that are coaches, like, great life. I was so privileged to be able to live that not 100-hour a week job, life as a coach for the 4 years that I did. But if I was going to ever step away from this kind of, it felt like a little bit like a cheat code, that when I got off the call, when I got out of the meeting with my client, that problem was not mine to solve anymore, right? I'd helped.
Yeah.
And they found the neural pathways to go solve it themselves. But if I was going to, take that peace of mind away and jump back into the most insane thing ever, which is to be a founder, to try and conjure something from nothing into existence when all the forces of the status quo are against you. Like, if I was ever going to do that, all 4 things had to be true. And the 10-year problem was probably the biggest one.
Whoa.
And so it saved me from jumping in on some things that ended up being 2-year problems or 3-year problems. And I invested in those companies, as an angel investor, and I'm proud of the companies that I, was able to invest in over the past few years. And they're solving some cool problems and they're building some cool companies. But if I'm going to put everything at risk again, it has to be something that I want to spend 10 years working on. And so that opportunity came around, and the rest of the non-negotiables were also true. And it was earlier this year. It was in January of this year that the opportunity presented itself, and all 4 were true. And I looked at my wife and I said, I can't do this. Like, I shouldn't do this. Like, I'm becoming a dad this year. My mom is fighting Alzheimer's and losing. And like, we've got a pretty good thing going. Like, this is not the year for me to risk everything to jump back in. But the opportunity to build the company that I'm launching here at the end of this year is called Stretch. And it is an opportunity that I was given to build a smart grocery shopping list powered by AI, and take everything I learned from the 8 years of experience with Basket, build it for the 2025 world that we live in. And as it turns out, a lot of people are talking about groceries these days. And the timing has never been more incredible. But it wasn't in January. This wasn't the environment that we were in January. But I said, I've got a pretty good hunch that that's where this is going. And I've got a very strong opinion about what would serve the shoppers that is probably not going to be built by anybody else, and was fortunate to find a co-founder and a team that agreed. And so this summer we decided to do it. We incorporated in April, wrote the first line of code in May, raised $1.5 million in July, and we're going to launch the company in November.
We're in November. It's November 12th when we launch it.
Next week.
Bro, Fulfillment Project exclusive. So tell me, what is the difference between this and Basket?
So starting with a very similar first emergence. So anybody who loved Basket is going to love Stretch. You give me your shopping list for the week, I will tell you every store that's close by that carries those products and what the total price is at each store. The big difference is that we are building the shopper first advocate, so that shoppers actually have a seat at the table when it comes to how their commerce is transacted. And when you look at what's happening with agentic commerce and the way that AI is changing prices and changing preferences, and even Walmart's announcement with OpenAI 2 weeks ago,
we just talked about that on the podcast a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
I didn't know what agentic AI was. I had a guest on, Neil, who told me about it, and then the next day I opened the Wall Street Journal, and there it is on the front page, and I'm like, whoa! Thank goodness someone gave me the heads up that this was happening.
Yeah.
So, and you're all over it, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. And so where we're situating ourselves is to be the shopper's agent, that we get to know the shopper tells us the preferences, that we learn about like what's important to them and their family, their dietary restrictions.
So you help create the shopper persona for AI. So AI is delivering what that shopper actually wants.
Yeah. And it looks like magic.
Fair?
The shopper, isn't thinking about the fact that they're working with AI. It's just technology, but we are building a lot on the back end of AI, so that ultimately when there is agentic commerce, right, Walmart's going to put their agent out and say, I will sell you things. And Stretch is going to say, I've got shoppers who want to buy things. Here's the terms that they would agree to. And then the agents will negotiate. And then the transaction will happen. Right now, nobody's building things for the shopper. And that's where we feel like is a huge opportunity for us to be the first ever shopper advocate.
I have rubber band brain right now, so hardcore, where the rubber band of my mind is stretched so far because this concept in all of human evolution for however long it's been, millions of years, it's always been, I'm trading my corn for your bread. I'm trading my goods for your goods. Now we introduce money. Money's been around for a while to take the place of trading goods. I work to store up my labor and money, then I trade that for something. And now, I don't even know how to describe it better than you did. I mean, stores have access to Agentic AI. Agentic AI is actually thinking for itself. That's my understanding of Agentic, right? It's not operating on source code. It's operating on somehow its own sentience in a way. And it knows us better than we know ourselves because everything is recorded, every click, every button, and that. So we all have profiles that it is now targeting on its own to identify when we need a lawn chair in the summertime. And it's going to sell that to us somehow. The bridge that I haven't understood is I don't have Walmart Plus. So like they can't just send me things and bill me. They don't have my credit card info. So who represents me? In a way, would that be Stretch? Would Stretch represent me as the consumer and all my transactions would flow through you?
Yeah. And where that starts to get really, really interesting when you think about the evolution of what commerce is Stretch as a community of shoppers who don't want to overpay for things, have collective buying power.
Yeah.
In a way that has never happened before, right? Commerce has very much been dictated by the seller. And what we're saying is that with the rise of AI and what it can do as a representative of the shopper is it can decrease the inefficiencies that are all throughout the grocery shopping experience and truly help align incentives between both the shopper and the retailer and even the brands, right? That if I know that there's 178 families in Atlanta that have paper towels on their shopping list this week, and Kroger wants to make a bid for those people because they're overstocked and they need to move some things out of the warehouse. Well, great. Those people have already said that they want it, right? If you think about advertising right now, especially for grocery and everyday products, it doesn't make sense in the current ad technology stack to follow me around the internet with a pixel because I'm going to buy paper towels. But I'm going to spend $250 this week on groceries. And I have told my shopping list what I'm planning to purchase. That information is not available to anybody else. It's a goldmine of pre-purchase intent that will allow the shopper to have some advocacy and agency when they go to the marketplace.
Silence. Because people that think of things like this, you, Andy Ellwood, I mean, I'm so proud to know you in my little way. And it's incredible. It's like I wish I thought of Velcro. I wish I thought of two-way tape. I wish I thought of Uber. And I wish I thought of all these great freaking ideas. And this is like a union can represent multiple people who at one time had no voice, but now you put thousands and tens of thousands of employees' voices together. You can have collective bargaining agreements against these behemoth corporations. And in the same way, I want to buy eggs next week, and so do all my neighbors. So why don't we join up forces with Stretch and say, yo, give me some of that organic egg don't gouge me on this, man. Don't gouge me on this, Kroger.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, and I wonder even if it will help the grocery stores. The plus side for the grocery stores is they want to move volume, and the way to move volume is volume. So you need to buy more. If Kroger had a guaranteed sale of 1,000 cartons of eggs, well, they can stretch a little further. Well, stretch, pun intended, to make that larger inventory purchase because they know it's getting shipped to Andy and everyone else on Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the inefficiencies that are just so entrenched in the way that industrialize food.
Like what?
Just if you think about so fun fact, the word grocer is a derogatory term from the 1400s.
Get out of here.
The engrosser was the person who went out and bought up all the things from the farmers in the field and then brought them to the town square and charged gross margin more. And
no.
So the original grocer were actually taking advantage of the asymmetries of transportation at the time. And so grocer actually has an old school derogatory term. And so if you think about
you just called me the G word, bro? You just called me the G word?
If you think about what the current structure of industrialized food is we're paying 7 or 8 middlemen between the farmer and my fork. And the last one, which takes the largest margins, is the grocery store. And the grocery store is a big, huge box that has refrigerators inside of it. And we all just show up and think that that's normal, that's how the food gets to us. But I was talking with an executive at Walmart, and I said, what do you think the future of grocery is? And she said, you know how shopping malls look in the US today? I think that's what grocery stores will look like in 10 years. Empty. They won't be what they once were. I remember going to the shopping mall as a kid, and like it was a cool place to like discover products and try new things. But like the internet made it, at best a showroom for what I might buy later when I get home online. And I think that my vision for what the future of grocery looks like is half distribution center, half experiential. When you think about the rise of curbside pickup in groceries, so many people do curbside pickup now. But what's funny is about half of them, the things that are in the inner aisle, bags, boxes, and cans, like you don't care which can of tomato soup from Campbell's you get. You just want Campbell's tomato soup. You don't need to pick it, right? They curbside pick up all the inner aisle things, and then they park their car and they go back inside that store or another grocery store to go the outer aisle. Meat, seafood,
the fresh stuff.
Right? You want to squeeze the avocado, you want to pick the fillet of salmon, you want to make sure that the grapes are the right color and not too
because when you don't, it never comes out right. They give you the bad bananas that are too mature, and they give you the hard avocado, and the lettuce is brown and wilty.
Somehow the pickers are letting us down. So I think the future of grocery is an experiential front of store and a distribution center back of store. And I think that Stretch becomes the shopper advocate for that future as well. But there's $100 billion of food waste a year from grocery stores because it expires, because it's not timed to the localized demand. If we have a bunch of people with shopping lists saying, this is what I'm planning to buy in the next 72 hours, well, all of a sudden we've got a demand signal that doesn't exist before. And I think that, what you said about, you wanted to be the person who invented Velcro or Uber or things along those lines. Williams, who was the founder of Twitter, famously said, take a human behavior that already exists and make it easier with technology, and you win. There are 26 billion trips to the grocery store in America every year. 90% of them are with a shopping list of some kind. 23.4 billion grocery lists every year. Do you know what the top 3 grocery lists are? Paper list on the side of your fridge, Apple Notes, or a text from your spouse, right? None of those are connected to inventory. None of those are connected to pricing. And none of them get better the more that you use them. Like there's no personalization.
Iteration,
right? Like this is like, this was my list before, I got Stretch. On the back of an envelope. But all we're doing is just saying people make grocery lists. How can we make simple, beautiful, magical technology that gives you a chance to know what the best price is, or what the closest store is, or who will deliver at the lowest premium? And you're going to make the decision differently based on how your week's going, right? You might be in a hurry and say, I don't care how much it costs. I just need to pick up dinner tonight. Yep. Or you might be like, hey, kids are at a birthday party. Like we've got a couple hours. Like we'll go to the Container Store and then we'll swing by the grocery store. And so that might be a happy Saturday. So we're just trying to build for shoppers who feel like they don't have a voice, and they're just trying to have dignity in how they feed their families. And I think that there's never been a better time to use technology for the masses.
This is a 10-year problem, Andy. My word. When we started today, I had an idea of what you were doing, but I had no idea it was like this. This is truly astonishing. And it's all so new for me and probably for all the listeners, with Agentic AI coming and the gravity of AI and how it will impact our lives, because there's no corollary to it. There's no parable, or what's it called when you compare something to something else?
Comparable.
Yeah, there's nothing comparable to this in history. And so I'm listening to you, feeling more and more blown away. Like, if this is the case for groceries, and the pitch you just put forward makes total sense to me and why I'd want to be involved in it. What else is coming? What else is there? Because I do so many actions on a regular basis, like the Twitter person said, you just use technology to make an ordinary action so much easier. There are so many ordinary actions out there, and now AI can do it so efficiently and cut out so much waste. And that's what I love, is it doesn't always have to be at the expense of something. There are actually really positive side effects to this. Mm-hmm. What if waste was decreased by 90% in the grocery? How many more people could eat? How much more they wouldn't have to increase prices so much because they don't have to cover the cost of all the waste that they know they're going to have.
100%.
I mean, there are so many positive side effects of this. It's incredible. What else is exciting you about Stretch?
Getting back to talking with shoppers, I think that one of the most tragic things that I've observed in people building things now is they just talk to their AI. They're like, AI, summarize this for me, right?
Yeah.
And they've outsourced some of the critical thinking and the actual shaking hands and talking to real people and saying, like, what are the actual problems that you're challenged with? And I think that that's what has been really fun for me. We talked to a couple thousand shoppers over the summer and just like got to know, like, hey, in 2025, how do you shop? Like, what's changed? And we released a study called the 2025 Shopper Outlook, and we talked to 1,000+ shoppers across 47 states. And what we found was the biggest shift in grocery behaviors was not actually from low income families, but it was from middle and upper class families who, for the first time ever, are trading down on their groceries because the rising cost of groceries is affecting everyone. This is no longer a low income family problem.
Yeah.
They'd already traded down as much as they could. If anything, they were starting to skip meals, which is just such a tragic state
reality.
We live in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and there are people who are food insecure. And I think that that's the most insane thing that I've ever heard. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so anything that we can do to increase efficiencies, which therefore decrease costs and makes feeding your family more affordable and something that you can do with more agency and dignity. Going back to my own childhood of, at the end of the month, there wasn't that much in the pantries, right?
Yep.
Waiting for the first of the month, the paycheck, so mom could go to the grocery store. That's happening in way more households in 2025 than it should. And I just want to give people a little bit of a leg up, because there's so many things happening on the corporate side of things and the way that AI is making things more efficient, even ways that should be reducing costs, but prices are still going up. It's just that the net revenues are also going up. And if we don't have something that holds people accountable, if we don't have something that holds the larger organizations, larger corporations accountable like this, don't have a chance.
I'm so happy. I mean, people in my life, it comes up. It's a regular topic of discussion now. I mean, initially, maybe a year and a half or two ago, you were trading from the name brand to the store brand. And now you're not going with things altogether. We're not even buying the store brand anymore. And batch cooking and skipping. And it's crazy. So I'm so happy you're addressing this. I'm so happy. People want to learn more. I've got a couple of lightning round questions for you, Andy, but people right now are probably very engaged like I am. Where do they search right now to learn more about you and participate with us?
Yeah, stretchformore.com. Stretch, FOR, more.com is where you can sign up to be notified when we launch in your area. So we'll be rolling out nationwide by the end of the year. And so super excited for people to get it in their hands. We've been working really, really hard to get it all set up in a way that feels pretty magical and easy to see the savings in real time, so you can make the right decision, whether turning left or turning right from your driveway saves you $20 or $30 every week. So that's where we're starting. And then, for me personally, just andyellwood.com is where I do a lot of writing. And then my newsletter, you can sign up there as well.
Wow, Andy. Okay, lightning round questions. These have been things bubbling up, but I didn't want to interrupt the conversation to insert them when they bubbled up. Marriage happened right after your first founder business went defunct out of those crazy circumstances. Was that balm for your soul? How did marriage and having a child affect you personally in your personal pursuit of fulfillment?
I have wanted to be a dad for forever. In sixth grade, somebody asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, a dad. And so to finally be a dad was just a dream come true. And just like, it's everything that I thought it would be and so much more. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's also the greatest thing that I've ever done. And so super, super grateful for that. My wife is absolutely incredible. She comes from an entrepreneurial family. She runs her own business as well. And so, so we have a lot of ups and downs together, but she is the most consistent and constant thing that has ever been a part of my life. And incredibly grateful for her. It's the most important decision that anyone makes, but especially any entrepreneur makes. That if you want to go try and tilt windmills, right? You want to go try and change things in the world, you better make sure that your partner is signed up for that, because it is going to be a full family ordeal.
Amen. And even if you're not going to be an entrepreneur, marriage is still, I think, the most important decision you make in your life. If there are issues with a relationship, I'll tell you what, they don't get better once you get married. Oh, once we get married, this problem will go away. No, once you get married, that problem will get 10 times worse. So make sure you line things up before the deed. And in some cases, you have to make the tough choice for the betterment of everyone involved. Child rearing, having children, I couldn't agree more, Andy. And I think it's back to our risk and reward thing. Struggle, strife. It is the hardest thing I've personally done. It's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And I think that is logical, and it makes direct proportion. The more you suffer, the more fruit there is. It's a wild paradox. Can you explain it at all? Have you thought through this at your late nights up in the middle, 2, 3, 4 a.m. holding the crying baby? Why is that the case? Why does struggle correlate so directly to fulfillment?
Things that cost more usually have a lot more value, either because of the sacrifice that it took to get them, monetary, time, pain that was suffered. You're going to remember it more. It's going to mean more. And I think that corollary is true in relationships. There's a lot of relationships that I was a part of at some point where they just weren't willing to put in the pain to take it to the next level. The author Scott Peck wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled.
Of course.
And he talks about the four stages of community, or 4 stages of relationship. And the first one is pseudo community, right? That it's, we're all doing this because we're associated with a certain thing. Like we all like the Rangers, we all like the New York Yankees, whatever it might be, right? But then we go into this chaos mode where all of a sudden it's like, wait, but they voted for somebody different than me. I thought we were friends. It's like, well, we were friends because your kids went to the same school. And then after the chaos mode, you go into like despair, right? You're just like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. But true community comes out on the other side of that, right? When you've gone through the despair and you're like, I pick that person anyway. Like, I don't care. Like there's certain things that like are non-negotiables for me, but you come out on the other side and you're like, I'm still going to do life with that person. And I think that some people just, at a certain point they stop growing, a certain point they stop thinking about what it would look like to dive in and try something hard. And they just kind of like shut off, and you just kind of got to keep going. You can't walk their path for them. And if they're good with where they are, but you're going to keep trudging, you got to leave some people behind.
Man. All right. Final question. There was a moment in the conversation when you were doing executive coaching and you were about to leap to your big 10-year question with stretch.
Yeah.
But life was good. And I wrote an article a while back called The Art of Staying Put. Like sometimes there's value in not moving forward. There's value in just appreciating all the benefits of being where you're at, being a master of what you're doing, and just soaking up the moment, being aware of the moment and soaking it up instead of constantly grasping for more. So with that in mind, are you fulfilled? Was that the right move? And then I've got a couple follow-ups.
A boat is safest in the harbor, but that's not what a boat was created to do.
Yo, I almost swore. Yo.
Every now and then, it's good to pull into port. It's good to scrub the barnacles off the bottom. It's good to stock up on rations. But then it's good to keep moving and to think about what the next destination you have is. And I am somebody who will probably always keep moving, which is why I had those non-negotiables to make sure that if I did leave the harbor, I was headed to the right next location. But that's the opportunity, is to never stop being curious, is to never stop growing. And I think that it's the thing that I would, if I can encourage anybody to find their path, it's to take the little bit of risk today. Find one thing, find one thing that you don't know it's going to work out. Like, ask for a free muffin at the gas station when you check out. Just see what they say. Like, the worst they can say is no. But like, just the chance of being rejected for that thing is like, it's a little bit exhilarating. And you never know, they might give it to you and might be like, oh my gosh, what else could I ask for? And I think that people don't ask enough from themselves, and they don't ask enough from life. And C.S. Lewis, he wrote that the Lord does not think that our desires are too strong. He thinks that they're too weak. We're children playing in mud pies in the city when a beach vacation is awaiting us at the shore.
I've read that line from CS so many times, and I have shivers right now just thinking of it. It is so true. A boat is safest in the harbor, but that is not what a boat was made to do. Andy Ellwood, you could be the host of this freaking podcast. You've got the name Andy. You've got my name. You stole my isms. You're dropping nuggets like left and right. I can't even pick them up fast enough. I just want to thank you, Andy. You get the last word today on the show. You told people where they can find you. I can't wait to track you. I can't wait for your next fundraising round, man. I want to get in on this. So you get the last word, brother.
Yeah. My newsletter is called Make Room for Many, makeroom.fm if you want to go to the website. And it comes from an Emerson quote that says, there's always room for a man of force, for he makes room for many. And so my encouragement to everybody would just be, think about what you can do to make room for others to get closer to who they are. Every spiritual journey is with the remembrance of who you are. Every journey, hero's journey, begins with becoming more of who you are. And the closer you get to who that person is, the greater the impact you'll have in your life and in the lives of others.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I could have served up a better one today. Andy Ellwood, thank you for joining the show. Everyone, Fulfillment Project, we'll see you next time. Hey, my friends, I've got my new book out and I want you to experience it. You can do it two ways. One, you go to Amazon right now, search Fulfillment Project. You get a hardcover or a soft cover. Reflections on each episode from season 1 of Fulfillment Project. A beautiful summary, key quotes, and then room to journal. If you want to start journaling and you don't quite know how, this is a great way to start. Makes a great coffee table book. I was intentional about making it as beautiful as a Neanderthal like me could make it. If you don't want to pay for it, go to substack.com right now. Subscribe to my Substack newsletter for free, and I will immediately send you an email with a free PDF download of the book so you can still participate with it that way. Thank you so much.